So the key to understand around this entire process around giving nutrients to your plants is in the beginning of your grow, before you even plant a seed, you kind of have to make the decision: synthetic liquid nutrients or dry amendments or soil biology. Yeah, dry amendments. And because you use soil biology with both synthetic nutrients or dry amendments. So in the very beginning, if you start off using liquid nutrients and don't amend your soil with something, then it's going to be very, very difficult to want to convert over to dry amendments in the middle of a grow. So the reason why you're finding a lot of success using Drops Balance and BAM right now, implementing it in the middle of your grow, is because Drops Balance isn't just an ionic sulfate mineral product. It's going to help unlock nutrients in your soil that's been built up. And because you're using general hydroponic salt, you more than likely just getting going with growing, even if you've had a number of grows underneath your belt, we all do it. We all get inconsistent watering experiences, right? So salt builds up. Drops Balance and BAM is going to be breaking these things down, and your plant's going to start looking green again. But if you don't continue to keep giving liquid nutrients, then the Drops Balance and BAM are going to break everything down to the point where your plant begins to cannibalize itself and begins to become malnourished. So the key to using liquid nutrients with soil biology is understanding that bacteria begins to go dormant with 900 parts per million of input. So what does that mean, 900 parts per million? Because it's important to understand that EC and parts per million, they have a relationship, but they also tell you two different parts of the story. And it's ideal to actually use your parts per million if you're mixing liquid fertilizer in a bucket of water. But it's ideal to use electrical conductivity, measure that in your soil already. They're two different instruments. You can use EC with liquid nutrients because it tells you the parts per million as well. It has a conversion table. But what I have found is it's better to know the parts per million in water, which you can use EC for. But really, when you're in your soil, it's more ideal to understand your electrical conductivity, because you can actually have a really high electrical conductivity in your soil and your plants thrive. But if you have that high electrical conductivity in just water, that means your parts per million are super high and you're going to put too much salts on your plants. But the electrical conductivity of your soil can be really high. If you compare it to in the conversion table, it will look like you're giving 5,000 parts per million of salt in your soil system, and it should be making everything super toxic, but that is not the case. The soil biology has the ability to amp up the electrical conductivity. This is my own theory, even though the parts per million aren't as high as what, if you compare it to the conversion table of the EC, should be. So why am I telling you all this? It's important to understand that your initial parts per million needs to be under 900 parts per million of fertilizer. So the general hydroponics, when you mix part A, part B, and part C, they have a light feeding and a heavy feeding. If you don't have a parts per million, you should probably go with the light feeding, and you're going to want to add Drops Balance and BAM, Drops Balance at 1 ml per gallon, and BAM after you ferment the BAM at a ratio of 15 mLs per gallon. Add both of them, then add your fertilizer, and you'll be feeding every time as long as your input is under 900 parts per million, probably around the 750 to 800 mark. And you'll be giving nutrients every watering. Your watering and your fertilizer will stay the same. Sometimes you might just water, but as long as you keep your soil environment moist and don't allow it to dry back, those salts are never going to dry back and they're never going to accumulate. And you're going to be always providing a low enough part per million of input so those salts and the bacteria always have a chance to thrive and break those salts down while the plant's growing. If you remove those salts and just add water, Drops Balance, and BAM, it's going to process those salts and nutrients that are in your soil, but they're going to process this so well to the point where very quickly the plant begins to cannibalize itself, just because there's no more nutrients in the soil. With dry amendments, it's different. You're going to amend your soil, and then every 3 weeks to a month, you're going to top dress your soil with more dry amendments. And then every watering, you're going to be providing Drops Balance and BAM, same ratios, 1 ml per gallon of Drops Balance and 15 mLs per gallon of BAM, fermented BAM. And you'll be watering it every time. And you might want to mix a little bit of the new amendments in with some soil. And then every time you water, the bacteria and the Drops Balance will be breaking the dry amendments down. And over a 24-hour period, it's going to be breaking them down and making whatever it breaks down into, making them water soluble into a salt so that the plant can take it up. Okay, you really rarely do you have to worry about how much dry amendments you're providing unless they are very water soluble dry amendments like blood meal or something, because the bacteria does a really great job at releasing what's needed to the plant as it needs it. I hope this was helpful.